Hi Stampers, this is Kim with Great Inspirations. Thank you for joining me today. Today I thought we would take a look at a technique that we sometimes overlook, but it's a good way to use scraps and it's a good way to just kind of get your frustrations out, so to speak. But I'm talking about paper tearing, and could help get your frustrations out. It's nice to just tear something up every once in a while. But these cards were made with different paper tearing techniques. This one I've just torn this brown cardstock to make a nice border for my pattern paper. This one I've done a technique that some people call the fault line technique, where I've torn apart not only the paper but the little mat under it, which in this case is vellum. And then for this one, I didn't tear anything. It's faux paper tearing, where you just do some masking. You tear the mask, whatever you use, be it masking paper or printer paper or anything like that. You just tear it and then mask the areas you want no ink, and then ink the area where you want it. Then remove your masking paper. So I thought we would walk through a few techniques. But first of all, if you've never done paper tearing before, you're of course going to need some paper. Now you can use cardstock, and like I said, I use vellum. You can use pattern paper. You can use whatever you like. And the secret, I guess, or the technique you use to get this nice edge on the paper is to tear towards you. You just keep tearing, and you can go down and over, dip down a little bit more and go back over. Just keep going. And there you go. It's your nice little edge. Now on this one, this was what was facing you, but if you flip it over, there's that nice little torn edge. So you can use this as well. That's all there is to paper tearing. And that is absolutely all I did to make this card. And we're going to walk through how I made that card. So I have a few supplies here. A few more than I may need. We've done a little pre-stamping. I've stamped my floral image and die cut it. And my card base, I have my piece for the inside. I have a piece of pattern paper, and it is 5.5 inches long, and it is 1.25 inches wide. And then I have this piece of cardstock, and it is probably 1.25 inches wide and 5.5 inches long. And the width is what we really want, or the length is what we really want to pay attention to, because we're going to need it to be the same length as our pattern paper. So I'm going to need 2 torn edges at one time. So I'm going to start over here. Just tear down whatever I think will look good. The more you do this, the more you learn to manipulate the paper. And if I like that, I can say, yeah, I like that. We'll go with that. And now I can decide, do I want to use this side? Or do I want to tear it a little more? I think I'll go with this side. So what I usually do is I get my glue. Remember what side of the paper? This is the right side, so I need to have it on the wrong side. I'm going to get some glue and just put it on the edge here. And take my pattern paper. Did I do that backwards? Oh, I did it backwards. Okay. Be right back. Just wipe that glue off and do it again. You need to put it on the right side. Oh my goodness. And then we can just line our paper up on it. There we go. And now, just going to do this side. And I will put the glue on the right side of my cardstock. And then just get this over here to see where you want it, how much of a border you want. There we go. And now we can put this on our card base. Now we will put the glue on the back side. And we'll just put it in place. There's that. Now all we need to do is get some dimensionals. See where I want to put this. We have a greeting to stamp down here. Okay. Going to use some ink. It's called Gray Granite. It's the same color as the, should have checked that. That'll be okay. It's the same color as the cardstock. Should have inked my pad maybe, but this will do. I'm just gonna wishing you a happy birthday. There we go. Now we'll get some dimensionals. I think I have some right here. And I am going to put them along the top and on this little blossom down here. I have some smaller ones, the mini ones. I'm going to put right on this leaf. I'm going to put one right there and one right there. Maybe I can get one right there. Yep, there we go. I'll just take these backs off. Now on this one, I glued the stem down and then just popped up these leaves and the flowers. This one I think I'll just put the dimensionals on it. Just use all dimensionals. And there we go. Now I do have some little gems to put on it. Yeah, get these out of the way. Let me see if I have my scissors. Yep. There we go. Put these away. And now we can put the inside. I just put a little sliver of that Designer Series paper, that wood grain paper, and another one of the flowers. I just cut it out and put it in there. And there we go. Just tearing our paper to make a border. Now, for that fault line card, I have a couple other examples. There's this one. There's this one. And there's this one. These two are just glued flat down on the card base. This one I've popped it up, the torn pieces, I popped them up on dimensionals. Now, I watched several different tutorials on how to make this card. I've seen it off and on for a while. I wasn't ever really sure about it, and I was just getting very confused. So I had to just sit down one day and figure out a way to make one that made sense to me. So I'm going to share that with you. And this may be the way that other people have done it. It may not be, but it made sense to me. So we'll just put these aside. And I have a card base. I also have an inside for the card. When I had the paper, cut the paper and had some left over, somehow, I just used it for the inside to kind of just decorate it a little bit. So we have that. But this is what we're going to make the torn pieces from. This is the width of the card. In this case, 4 1/4 inches. And I cut it 3 3/4. It's 4 1/4 by 3 3/4. So the piece that I'm going to have come under it, I cut it at 4 1/4 because that's the width of the card by 3. So what I did is I just looked on the back of my card, my paper pieces, left about the same border here as here, flipped it back over, and started tearing them together. You can tear them straight across, you can tear them down, whatever you care to do. There you go. Now if you slide this up a little, it might be hard to see on the one. You'll see because you tore them together, they follow the same design. Now what some people did is they took and they kind of folded this back a little with their finger, just kind of played with it a little, and you can do that with the second piece as well. Like I say, these could both be cardstock, they could both be pattern paper, they could be like this, cardstock and pattern paper. It's totally up to you. You can use specialty paper like I use the vellum. And now, the next thing I did was I took my pattern paper on the back side, and not right smack dab along the edge, but a little, maybe 1/2 inch away, I put a little bit of glue. And then I kind of lined it up. Just lined it up. Now you could leave more white than that or less. It's up to you. So we'll see how this is going to look here. I said I need to trim a little white off. I think I'll leave a little more on the top. Same thing. Flip our paper over. Put a little glue. About 1/2 inch away. Maybe 1/4 inch. I don't know. Just not right on the very border. Line them up. There you go. And now we can adhere them to the card. I think there's just that little smidgen of white there. Just gonna go. I can go right underneath the pattern paper because they're not glued down all that much. There we go. And there's this little bit of white over here. Yeah. Where do we want to go? Right there. Okay, now we can glue those on. Match it up just down to the bottom, line it up. There you go. Like I say, you could also put these up on dimensionals like I did for this one to give it more dimension, more depth. But I think it looks good just glued on there too. Here you go. And then all that's left to do would be to put a greeting in there of some sort, and also stamp a greeting or something if you want for the inside panel. And I'm not going to put the inside panel in right now because I will stamp something on there later on. But that's how I did a fault line card. So we'll move on now to my next little card, which, get the pen back in my glue. I do like this glue. It's from Bearly Arts. It's called Precision Craft Glue. It works for me. So I do like that. I've had an on again, off again relationship with liquid glues, but that glue does seem to work for me. So anyway, that's the fault line card. And we talked about just tearing the paper for a border. Now let's talk a little bit about just making a card that we don't tear. We're going to tear a little bit, but we're not going to tear anything that's going to stay on the card. We are going to make a faux torn paper card. And I actually, several years ago, I actually saw this technique on a card in a Stampin' Up! Catalog. And I thought, oh, I need to try that. I can see what they did. I'll do that. And I had the best time with it. So I thought I would share it with you today. Some of you may know how to do it. These cards rarely turn out the same, which is kind of cool. But I use masking paper. You don't have to. I have in the past used just plain printer paper. But masking paper works great because you can reuse it. You can cut it to size. And actually I have two kinds. Stampin' Up! Makes masking paper, as does Gina K and several other people. And what it is, it's just a paper that has a sticky on it. Really very, very low tech. Or tack. I'm sorry. It's low tack. And it's similar to like a Post-it note. So that's what I use now because I have it. When I don't have it, I just get me some printer paper. I tear it. I do make sure it's longer than my piece of cardstock so I can kind of tape the ends down. But with masking paper, you don't have to do that because it has the sticky. So we're going to just take a piece of cardstock. And as you can see, I have reused these. So we're going to use them again. I've used them for a couple of different cards. And I'm just going to peel the backing off because I saved it so we could put the masking paper back on it. And there we go. Now this is a little bit longer than my card because the first time I used it, I had it on a longer piece of paper, but it still works just fine. And this was one whole piece that I tore into two. So these would kind of match each other, kind of go together. So we're going to use some, I've got all kinds of inks over here. Let's find my old olive. And a blending brush. get a little bit of ink on here. Then I'm just going to go in between my masked areas. Here we're get some ink and add some color. You can go as dark or as light as you want. And then, let's see, let's do some stamping in here. A couple different greens for some greenery. And we'll just stamp a little there. There we go. Then we'll put in another color. There we go. And now we'll just put in some little red dots. And let's see, let's turn this a bit so they won't all look identical. Maybe a little there. There we go. Close all the ink pads back up. And then the fun part is we will remove the masking paper. See what we have. There we go. And of course we could stamp a greeting here, and then we would put it on our card base, put on some gems, and be good to go. So let's take a look at all these cards. As soon as I find where I put them. Oh, I hid them behind the masking paper. Okay, so there is the faux. And then here, the faux paper tearing. And here are those fault line cards. Like I said, I've made 3 of those. And here's the one that's on the dimensionals. And then here's the one where we tore the paper for the border. And there's the one I made earlier. And that's the one we made today together. And then here is another faux torn paper card. And I went crazy with those dragonflies. I don't know why. It looks like I walked through the flowers and scared them all away. But here's another card where I just tore the piece of paper in half and put it at the top and bottom, and then put my greeting in the center. And then here's one where I had a panel of cardstock. And then I took a smaller piece of the same color, this red, and tore it in half. But first I adhered this pattern paper to the base and then put my torn pieces on. So there you have it, the torn paper technique. And like I said, if you don't want to tear the paper, fake it. I do love this technique. I think it looks really nice. So the faux paper tearing technique. And of course the fault line cards. Thank you so much for joining me today. Now, in the description of this video will be a link to my corresponding blog post. And on that blog post, you'll find the list of supplies, measurements, and all that stuff for how I made these cards and what I used to make them. Thank you for joining me today. And until next time, stamp happy.